Welcome to all of you. Today we will solve one problem in case of liquidation of a company. Bad Luck Company went into voluntary liquidation on 30/6/2018. On that date, the balance sheet was as follows. We have 15,000 8% preference shares of rupee 1 each, 30,000 equity shares of rupee 1 each. Total you get 45,000. Deduct the loss appearing in PL account. That's called deficiency in PL account. Loss in PL account is 5,000. Machinery, stock, data, cash, total of asset side is 58,000. From the assets, two liabilities are deducted. So less 6% debenture 10,000 and creditor 8,000. So it's a restructured modified balance sheet in a different form. In the sense, instead of taking the liability, debenture and creditor in the liability side, they have deducted in the asset side. That doesn't make any difference in the structure of the balance sheet. Therefore, the balance sheet total of both the sides is 40,000. The dividend on preference share had been paid up to June 2017. In this case, the preference shareholder had the right of getting their capital and arrears of dividend before any amount was repaid to ordinary shareholder. The liquidator sold the stock and machinery for 36,500 and collected 14,500 from the debtor. In addition to the creditors mentioned above, he had to pay preferential creditors by way of taxes to the extent of 1,000. The liquidation expenses were 210. Debenture holders were repaid on December 31st, 2018 along with interest up to this date. 2% of the amount realized by sale of stock and machinery and collection from debtor and 2% on the amount finally paid to equity shareholder was to be paid as liquidator remuneration. Prepare liquidator final statement of accounts. Bad Luck Company went into voluntary liquidation on 30/6/2018. So the date of liquidation is June 2018. On that date, the balance sheet was as follows. We have 15,000 8% preference shares of rupee 1 each, 15,000. 30,000 equity shares of rupee 1 each, 30,000 equity share and 15,000 preference capital. Total capital is 45,000. They have deducted the deficiency in PL account, means loss 5,000. So total of the liability side it's 40,000. Machinery, stock, debtor, cash, these are the four assets we have in the asset side. Total asset is 50,000. Deduct the two liabilities that is not taken in the liability side, it's taken in asset side and to be deducted. So less debenture 10,000, less creditor 8,000. So total we get 40,000. The dividend on preference share had been paid up to 30 June 2017. Can you look at the dates? The preference dividend are paid till June 17. Look at the top. The date of liquidation is June 30, 2018. So there is a 1 year dividend arrear. 1 year dividend has to be paid. And in this case, preference shareholder had the right of getting their capital and arrears of dividend before any amount was repaid to ordinary equity shareholder. Means before you can pay equity share, you have to pay dividend, of course, as well as capital to preference shareholder. It means you need to pay preference capital and also 1 year preference dividend. After this, you need to pay equity capital. The liquidator sold stock and machinery for 36,000 and collection from debtor 14,500. So these are the two sale of assets, realization of assets. So we get 51,000 if I am right. So total collection from sale of assets, stock and machinery 36,000 plus debtor collection 14,500 and total collection from realization of asset is 51,000. And then in addition to the creditors mentioned above, he had to pay preferential creditors by way of taxes to the extent of 1,000. You look at the asset side of the balance sheet, we have a creditor 8,000. Apart from this 8,000, you need to pay 1,000 extra. In addition means leaving 8,000, you need to pay another 1,000 as taxes. It is treated as preferential creditor. So conclusion, preferential creditor is 1,000, unsecured creditor is 8,000. I repeat, preferential creditor is 1,000. Okay, preferential creditor is 1,000 and okay, 1 minute. Preferential creditor is 1,000 and unsecured creditor is 8,000. In addition, the liquidation expenses were 210. So liquidation expenses 210. Debenture holders were repaid on December 2018 along with interest up to this date. That means debenture is also paid with a time lag of 6 months. 6 ತಿಂಗಳು ತಡವಾಗಿ ಡಿಬೆಂಚರ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತಾವು ಬಡ್ಡಿಗೂ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಮೇಲೆ ನೋಡಿ, look at the top. The date of liquidation is June 18. ಮೇಲೆ ನೋಡಿ, liquidation ತಾರೀಕು June 18. ಆದರೆ ಡಿಬೆಂಚರ್ ಪೇ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು December 18. So there is a late payment of 6 months. So you need to pay debenture along with 6 months interest. Next, what we have, 2% on the amount realized. I repeat, 2% on the amount realized. 2% on the amount realized by sale of stock and machinery and collection from debtor, and 2% on the amount finally paid to equity shareholders was to be paid as liquidator remuneration. So liquidator ಗೆ ಕೊಡುವಂತ ವೇತನ ಎರಡು ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಒಂದು, ಎಷ್ಟು ಆಸ್ತಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಸೂಲಿ ಆಗಿದೆಯೋ ಅದರ ಮೇಲೆ 2%, ತದನಂತರ ಈಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಶೇರ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋ ಅದರ ಮೇಲೆ 2%. So liquidator remuneration ಬಂದು it is paid on two bases. On realization of asset, realization of asset is 51,000 into 2%, and how much you pay to equity shareholder, on that you need to calculate 2%. Prepare liquidator final statement of accounts. Let us look into the question, the solution for this. So receipt side, you have stock and machinery realized 36,500, debtor realized 14,500, and the total cash you get 500. Total receipts will be 51,500. What are the order of payments? Payment galu yav ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು? Secured creditor dash. Liquidation expenses 210. Liquidator remuneration ವೇತನ is calculated on 2. On assets, on equity shareholders. On asset 51,000, that is assets realized, stock, machine, debtor. Cash ಮೇಲೆ ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಮಾಡಬಾರದು. Cash is a non-realizable asset. So 51,000 into 2%. So remuneration on asset is 1,020. Remuneration on equity share, keep it pending. ಸದ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಇದನ್ನು ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಮಾಡಬೇಡಿ, pending. Remuneration ನಂತರ ನಾಲ್ಕನೇ ಪಾವತಿ, the fourth order of payment is debenture 10,000. You need to pay with interest 300. So 10,000 into 6% into 6 by 12, 6 ತಿಂಗಳು ತಡವಾಗಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋದು. You have paid 6 months late payment, so interest is 300. Then you need to pay preferential creditors tax 1000, unsecured creditor 8000 given in the balance sheet. So next order of payment, ನಂತರ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಪಾವತಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೇರ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ 15,000. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಪೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೇರ್ ಡಿವಿಡೆಂಟ್, 1 ವರ್ಷ ಡಿವಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಬಾಕಿ ಇದೆ ಜೂನ್ 2017ರಿಂದ ಜೂನ್ 2018ವರೆಗೂ. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ arrear of dividend to the extent of 1 year. So you get 15,000 into 8%, you get 1,200. Last order of payment is equity shareholder. ಇವಾಗ ಈಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಶೇರ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ನೋಡೋಣ. ಈ 14,480 ಹೇಗೆ ಬಂತು? How did you get 14,480? Total the receipt side 51,500 minus 210 expenses minus 1,020 remuneration on assets minus debenture 10,000 minus interest on debenture 300 minus preferential creditor 1,000 minus unsecured creditor 8,000 minus preference capital 15,000 minus preference dividend 1,200. So the leftover amount will be 14,770. ಉಳಿದಿರೋ ಹಣ 14,770. ಈ 14,770 2 ಜನರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಒಬ್ಬ ಈಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಶೇರ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡೇಟರ್ ರೆಮ್ಯುನರೇಷನ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಪೇ 14,770 to 2%. First you need to pay equity share, next you need to pay liquidator remuneration. So liquidator remuneration on equity shareholder 14,770 into 2 by 102. Yake 2 by 102? Because this 14,770 has to be paid to 2 people. Let equity shareholder be 100, on that you should pay 2% remuneration. So 100 plus 2 you get 102. So remuneration is 290. Therefore total remuneration is 1,310 and the final balancing amount 14,480 to be paid to equity shareholder. So the final settlement, ಅಂತಿಮ ಪಾವತಿ ಈಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಶೇರ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕೊಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ 14,480. ಆದರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು? 30,000. So in place of 30,000 you are just paying 14,480. So 14,480 divided by 30,000 you get 48 paisa per share. ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಶೇರ್ಗೆ 1 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕೊಡೋ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇವಲ 48 ಪೈಸಾನೇ ಕೊಡಕ್ಕಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.